I normally don't even talk about when the Hornets do stuff like this, but it just had to be said. And I think another reason is I mentioned on Twitter that I'm not going to tweet until the Hornets win a game by 20. I knew that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. So maybe I'm getting a break. I've won it from that app. But man, like it has just been, I don't know. At the beginning of this season, I knew we were not going to be good. I've said it here. I've said it on Buzzbeat. I said it on Twitter. I've said multiple times that I knew this team was not going to be good. Now, that didn't mean I didn't think we'll be this bad, but I knew we were not going to be good. I knew we weren't going to be ready for the playoffs. I did think the East was going to be a little better. So if you would have told me the East would have been this bad, I would have thought maybe we'd at least made the play in. But here we are. One thing I did say at the beginning of the season, though, is I felt as though these type of games should not happen. I knew we may lose games because we don't have the overall talent. I knew we may lose games because we don't have the overall experience. I knew we may lose games because guys have bad games, which is very normal in this league. I did not think we would have games where we just don't look like we belong in the same league, and that's just what has happened these last two games against the Kings and against the Trailblazers. I understand it's a road trip, but losing by 20 would have been like, that sucks. It's bad, but it is what it is. But losing by almost 50, we almost lost by 60, and then we almost lost by 50. Like it's almost losing by 100 in two games is absurd. And I'm not one for moral victories necessarily. I understand what part they play, but when the team has been this bad for so long, and then when this season just has been a downright abysmal season, I don't know where the moral victories are. You know what I mean? Like, moral victories to me in the NBA, or really in sports in general, they come from a place of more so. I don't know how to explain it. We're better than moral victories, I believe. I think a moral victories come from teams that they just didn't have a shot, and they knew that going into the season. So winning a couple of games here, a couple of games there, moral victories. I think we're better than moral victories. Our record doesn't indicate that, but I think, you look at the teams, and I think that we're ahead of moral victories. But the ones we've had, like the Lakers, that right there is like a situational moral victory. If we would have won that game without the whole Mark Williams thing, I wouldn't have thought of it as a moral victory. But it was thought of as a moral victory for me because of the fact that, it felt as though like the Lakers are trying to bully the smaller team. And yeah, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. No, but you saw that the guys were willing to up their game for the sake of winning against that particular team. That in a way is a moral victory to me, but even then, I feel as though we should do that every game. If we lose, we lose. But I have said for as long as this channel has been around that we play down to our competition, and that's not good because we've been down. Like it doesn't make any sense. This team. And, now we're on, because even that was even happening with Coach Borrego. So, like, this team now through three coaches has played that way. And we've heard, like, I remember Nick Richards. I know other players have said it, but I'm specifically thinking of, like, a Nick Richards thing. He was saying that, we have guys, this team has changed a little bit. We have some guys that are more eager to win and this, that, and the other. And I don't know if it was a slight at PJ or what. Like, there was a lot of rumors and talk going around, but I just specifically remember him saying something like that. And this roster has been wiped. I mean, the only people who are left are LaMelo, Brandon, I guess you can count Mark, and that's it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Yeah, I think that's it. That's really all that's left from those teams. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know why we play like that. I don't know why we take everything so easily. Like, we just let things happen. You have to look at part of it. I'll tell you this. Let's get at what I know. Part of it is this team is just not been good. And it's hard when you're this deep into the season to find that motivation to push you over the hump. That Laker game, there was something there to spark these guys to push them over the hump. But it's hard to find that night in and night out, especially this going on this long. I am a person that can easily say, like, what about pride? Like, you don't want to lose these games. And that's true. However, when you've lost so many games and you're literally playing for nothing, it's hard to find that pride. It's like, whatever. What we do from now to the end of the season probably doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's not. I don't know. I don't believe in, especially in teams in this scenario. I don't believe in things carrying over to the next season in a situation like this. I think that applies to teams that have true intentions of being something next year, which I don't know if this team does. And then also that also counts as for teams that it's easy to say more so in football. Let's just use football for a quick example. And maybe basketball, but basketball's so like one player. Look, we'll use basketball. Basketball's so one player minded. But if I don't know how to explain it. Like for example, if LaMelo was out this whole season, didn't play a lick of basketball this whole season, I think that even at this point in the season, you're showing like, all right, this is building motivation for when we have LaMelo, look how dangerous we can be. There is none of that. You have just about everybody. I mean, we can't bank on keeping Trey Mann, so you can say that we're missing Trey Mann too. We don't even know if he's going to be here. Grant, I think, is a very impactful player, and he's the guy that's going to get us from he's gonna be the guy that helps close those gaps in those games where we kind of crash out in the last 3 minutes. So he's beneficial for that, but there was nothing he was going to do about a 60-point game. And Brandon Miller still coming into his own. There's nothing he's going to do about a 60-minute. So the people we're missing, it's not that big of help. Even if they played fantastic career-saving, career-high basketball, there's nothing they could have done to prevent games like this where just the energy's low and just everything's just scrambled. It's normal at this point in the season for teams like this, but it's more so for a team that already I have questions about the future. I don't see how you allow this to happen. I really don't. I don't see what this gets you. I don't see tanking. You could say we can get lucky and get the number one pick, but so what? That gets us a good player for sure. I'm not knocking that, and I like a lot of guys in this draft. I just don't understand that's not going to save what I think is the problem. I think the problem is still the culture. I think the problem is still we take things like, if you want to be good, I think you should lose. You lose games because you're not good enough. You lose games because the other team is just better. We're losing games like in effort. Like that's literally what it's always been. And I don't understand how you change that. If there was going to be a coach that changed it, I thought it would be Cliff. And even he had struggled with it. And I think a lot of that was roster construction. I think if he had this roster, we would be a little further along. But then I keep saying this, and I'm sorry that I keep saying it, but it's true. You draft Tajon Salon, which fine, whatever. But then you sign Miles Bridges. What sense does that make? I understand for the fact that maybe we can trade Miles later, but if I would have just rather let him go if you were going to get a guy who definitely is not ready. And you could tell by how he plays this year, he's not going to be ready next year, and he may not even be ready the year after. If I was a team that was trying to be good in the next year or so, I would have got a guy who I think can contribute right away. You know why? Because one, he can contribute so much that, he's actually a part of this core and moving on to the future. Or two, he's good enough to where we can package him with a couple other picks and maybe another guy or something, and then get that superstar caliber player to pair with LaMelo, Brandon Miller, however you see fit. Getting a guy that may not even be able to be on the floor, I'm just using this because this is recency. Another Kai Jones, I don't think that makes any sense. I think he has a higher ceiling than Kai Jones, but still, it's not much. Like, I think he can be a good rotational player at some point. That's not some guy you take at 6, especially in a situation where we're dying for talent. It does not make any sense to me. And then, like I said, for a guy to be so far away, I don't see why you re-sign Miles. I didn't necessarily have a problem with re-signing Miles. I have a problem with a lot of things we do because I want us to blow it up. That's just me being straightforward. I say all this to say that, but we'll get to that in a second. I don't understand why you sign Miles, which is more of a win now, and then you have a guy that combats that by being far from it. And I know that the idea may be, by the time Miles is off his contract, we'll trade him, let him move off. Tajon can slide in and take that spot. But I knew then that Tajon was just not going to be. it just not. I'm not going to say I didn't. I think it. I'll easily be wrong. If he ends up being great, or Giannis, as everybody was calling him on draft night, like I know it was mostly as a joke, but still, I will be gladly wrong. But I don't know why even then they thought that would be. Like, I knew that was the plan. I don't know why they thought it would work. And I would have much rather got somebody else to, like I said, we can pair him with somebody and trade him, or we can keep him and say, wow, this guy's actually can have. And it doesn't have to be a star or a starter that draft pick could have been. It could have just been a guy that can contribute every night. We know he's going to be here for, 5-6 years for a fact. So that helps us, like, okay, that's one less archetype player that we need for our system to worry about. Or that's one less player in a certain position that we have to worry about. That with Tajon, you don't know what you got. You don't know. You think he's going to be like this spot up guy. You don't know if he's going to do that. You would like for him to get in the rim more because of his size, but you don't know if he's going to do that. You don't know what he's going to do. So that just with him still not developing, it still just leaves a giant hole in your roster construction for your whatever kind of system you're trying to run. Now, back to what I'm talking about as far as blowing it up. I have been adamant about blowing it up. I've said it as jokingly. I've said it, aggressively. I've said it passively. I've said it in all kind of ways, but I still mean it. I think there's a lot of who should we get to put around LaMelo? We should trade LaMelo and let it be Brandon's team because Brandon's elite. All that I'm not on either side of that. I don't know who's on this side, but I'm on the side of blowing it all up. Blowing it all up does not mean that certain players are bad or certain players are good or this and that and the other. It just means that this should have been done. It should have been done. The second Miles Bridges did not play that full season, and we knew he was not going to play that whole season, they should have just blew it up then. And I don't even think once that incident happened, they should have blew it up then because it just wasn't going to work out. I know he's back, and I know he's playing, especially now, at a much better rate than he was at the beginning of the season, but it just was never going to work out because too much has been done to this team. Too much has been allowed for this team to do this. Too much has just been passed on for this team to really just get it. It's just like you just need a change, a big change. Changing a couple players here and there, changing your coaching staff. That's not going to do it. You need a real change. Like you just need a complete overhaul. That includes trading LaMelo Ball, and that's strictly just because of the fact that I think they wasted too much time. We've wasted way too much time with a guy who everybody says he plays street ball and this, that, and the other, and that's not championship winning basketball. I agree. That is the level he plays at right now, this second, is not championship level basketball. But it's more than enough to get you in the playoffs. It's more than enough to even sniff the second round. And it could take you a little bit further than that. It's not to say that he can't. That's the thing. I want him to see it so then he can be like, you know what? This is what I need to change. Boom. Now we're playing championship basketball. It's not like he's Tajon. It's not like he's way off. It's just more so it's not quite there, which is fine because we haven't even made the playoffs. I think he's more than good enough for us to play the playoffs. I think he's more than good enough for us to be in the second round at minimum. At maximum, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but he's good enough for us to at least make the second round. We don't even have to be this second round great team, but I think he's good enough right now to be the best player on a second round exit team, which is perfectly fine. However, the rest of the roster does not follow suit. And I just think too much time is going to be wasted. If they were to tell me right now, hey, if they called me to the side, which they won't, but if they called me to the side and said, all this has been to get old guys off the roster. This year, we're going to focus on taking a step forward and getting LaMelo what he needs. I'll take everything I said back. But it just doesn't look that way. It does not look like they are going to be ready next year to make that jump. Another thing I like to say is the East is so bad that you can accidentally make the playoffs, but we are not doing that. That's just what frustrates me more than anything is that last year and this year, and really you could just, I guess, mainly just say this year because last year technically it wasn't a new ownership and didn't have the coach and whatever. But this year particularly, you could have accidentally made the playoffs. I understand we've had injuries. I understand that not everything has gone our way, but if we were missing like two key players and they came back maybe a couple weeks ago, we could have made the play-in. You know what I mean? Like, if we were like if the Lakers, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, if the Lakers were missing, if the Lakers were able to keep afloat and were missing Luka and LeBron, they came back, they would have been able to make you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we're that far out the East, but that's not going to happen. I know it's not, but it's just like, that's how close we are to where we could accidentally have made, I think are the Bulls 10 games? Let me check. I think the Bulls are like 10 games under 5. Yeah, the Bulls are 23-35, and they have the 10 spot. We are only 14-42, so we're bad, bad record regardless. But my point is, we still could have made the play. We are not technically, based off numbers, we are not far off from the play-in. And it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating to deal with this year in, year out. I think we just need to blow it up. It's not a detriment to LaMelo. It's not a detriment to Miles. It's not a detriment to really anybody. It's more so one of those things where it's just time. It's just time, and we're running around. They can change it. That's the thing. I guess that's the beauty of it. If you want to find like the brighter side, is that they're in a position where they can easily take the next step. Do I believe they will? No. I think they are interested in gathering assets and getting young players and seeing what they do, and then slowly build the team that way to build some type of standard, to build some type of structure. That's what I think they're interested in doing. I do not think that you can go to next season and have a season like this. You cannot. I don't care what the strategy is. You cannot go into next season and have a season like this. The minimum I'm willing to take next season is that the East is just so good we can't get into play-in. Like, that's the minimum. Like it has to be something like the West in the 2010s or something like that. There's no reason for us to not even for our season to be over in December again. If that happens, just even more so blow it up. Like, I'm saying blow it up, but I know that just may not be the right thing. I'm saying that more so as a tired fan, as a fan that has watched this team waste a player, I think, in LaMelo, and they better be careful because they could waste Brandon. And, I mean, there's plenty of time for that. So he still has time they still have time to put something around him if they choose to do so. But I feel as though they're wasting LaMelo. Like, by the time this team gets good and can go to the next step, LaMelo's going to be in his last year of his deal, second to last year of his deal. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't understand what the idea is here. That's why I'm just more like blow it up, but I understand why people would not agree. Who wants to see this team be bad? I want you to be bad for a reason. If we're going to be this bad, be bad for a reason. But I just don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. I'm sorry I was rambling. I just had a lot of thoughts just because I have not been able to tweet because I made that tweet. Like I said, I knew what I was doing. But, yeah, I don't see what the direction is. I understand that, you don't want to do like the Suns. I get that. And then like waste everything and then not be able to really get what you need to be. Understand that. I understand taking it slow and building and getting guys through the draft and slowly, that's how you not overpay people. That's how you can kind of build your own culture. I understand that. What I don't understand is the being terrible while you do it. That, you know what I mean? Like, I understand you probably want this pick, which is fine. I understood this is what I thought. I thought we'd be fighting throughout the year and then be like, all right, time to get this pick. And then, but no, we're just abysmal. And it doesn't even look like we'll be good anytime soon. I guess that I really could have summed all that up in this sentence, but it doesn't even look like we'll be good. I think, like, I don't know. You can look at teams around the league and say, let's use the Pistons. Let's use the Pistons. We can use the Nets too. The Pistons last year, not the Pistons this year, but the Pistons last year, they didn't look like, there was times where it was like, this team don't ever look like they're going to be good. But they fought every single game. They just sucked. Fine. I could live with that. If we just sucked, but we were fighting every game, it's like, okay. Then a piece here, a piece here. We already have the fighting spirit. Boom. We are I could see it. We could be a good team. The Nets, as long as they've been bad, whether that was pre-Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and now even post-Kevin Durant, Kyrie, James Harden, all that, they fight every single game. So I can see, put Cooper Flag in there, you put maybe a vet here, you can do something. Because they still could do something. They don't have any of that. Hornets, I don't see it. I don't see it. And it's not because of talent. There's no way it's because of talent. We are more talented than, I would say, both of those teams. Top talent, at least. I don't see it. I don't see it. There was a reason I was happy Mark Williams was getting traded. As much as I like Mark as a player and as a person, I can still separate myself and say, what is he going to be in the future, and is that right for us? I don't think so. I was happy to see him go. Miles, I still have, my issues with whether he can play with Brandon Miller. I've talked about that a lot. LaMelo, I'm fine on. I think what LaMelo does, I don't think there's anything that needs to change. It's just more so what's around us. Josh Green, I like the idea of Josh Green, and I think he can be a decent player. I like for what he's going to be, as in the transition to help us get better. I don't see Josh Green as the final guy on this team when we're really constantly making the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. I see him as a good guy to help us get, kind of over the hump and maybe make the play in, and then, but he has run his course. But at times he looks terrible. I still believe in him as far as what I think he can do, but at times he looks horrible. Josh Okogie, I like Josh Okogie, but we haven't seen him play much after, his injury. I could go on and on. And so sorry if I don't name everybody, and maybe I'll do a video where I name everybody, but I don't see it. Talent-wise, I can see how we could add a rookie and a vet somewhere and then possibly be on the next level. But other times, I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I don't see how you fix just the lack of urgency with this team. And it's always been that way. I think that's another thing. If we were just bad before and then this still happened, I could be like, you know what? There's nothing to play for. I can understand it. And to an extent, I still do understand it in that manner. But we've always been like this. I don't understand. So what I really don't understand is, how do you change it? How do you change being this team that doesn't seem like they care about anything? One way to do it is by winning. What are y'all doing to win? I don't see it. I see how you're setting yourself up to build assets, but you're not setting yourself up to win. And if you're not setting yourself up to win, fine. I'm not going to be mad. But stop holding on to LaMelo. Stop. What are we doing? It doesn't make any sense. Don't hold him hostage. Let him go. That helps him. That helps us. It doesn't make sense to hold him hostage if you're just going to sit here and collect assets and then try to build some grand team. It does not make any sense. So let him go while you can, because we do know he does have injury problems. Figure it out. It's at the point where you need to decide, are you going to build with LaMelo or not? You cannot keep holding on to him. I would much rather you build with him, because there's no way that we should have him and not try to make the playoffs. I've said this. But if you're not going to do that, then stop even putting that in the atmosphere and just get rid of him and move on. I don't know. That's just how I feel. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.